At a time when almost every car manufacturer was pushing forward with front-engine, water-cooled designs loaded with the latest electronics, Porsche seemed to be moving in the opposite direction, at least at first glance. They stubbornly stuck with a noisy, rear-mounted, air-cooled engine, a choice that already looked outdated back in the 1960s. And yet, instead of fading into obscurity, this decision ended up rewriting automotive history. What began as a simple, practical need to replace the Porsche 356 with something better turned into the creation of a legend. Ferry Porsche, son of company founder Ferdinand Porsche, wanted a faster, more capable car without abandoning the rear engine layout that had become the brand's identity. He believed in evolution, not revolution. The task of designing this new engine fell to a young engineer who would become a Porsche icon, Hans Mezger. Fresh out of the University of Stuttgart in 1956, Mezger began working on diesel projects before moving into the high-performance arena. His mission was ambitious: develop a completely new power plant that was both powerful and true to Porsche's DNA. The result was a masterpiece, a compact, high-revving, flat-six air-cooled engine with a unique sound and character that would define Porsche for decades. Originally, the new model, known internally as the 901, was supposed to use a pushrod flat-six, but Mezger insisted on doing things the right way from the start. That meant overhead camshafts for each cylinder bank, something radical at the time. The final product was a 2-liter, 130-horsepower, flat-six engine that might not have looked like a monster on paper, but it laid the foundation for an entire bloodline of performance machines. While the rest of the auto industry favored inline or V engines mounted at the front, Porsche went against the grain. They retained the flat layout, placing the engine low and behind the rear axle. This gave the car a very low center of gravity and a distinctive silhouette, while also improving traction by putting the weight directly over the driven wheels. The horizontally opposed pistons naturally balanced each other, eliminating most vibrations without the need for extra counterweights or complex mechanisms. Light, smooth, and incredibly responsive, this engine was more than just an engineering choice. It was a philosophy. Perhaps the boldest part of Porsche's decision was sticking with air cooling when nearly everyone else had moved to liquid systems. An air-cooled engine meant fewer components, no radiator, water pump, hoses, or coolant to worry about, which improved reliability, something Porsche valued deeply. However, cooling a high-performance six-cylinder this way was no small feat. Porsche's solution was a massive belt-driven fan mounted above the engine, channeling air across the finned cylinders and heads. This fan not only worked, but also created the unmistakable whirring note that became part of the 911's signature sound. Oil played a secondary role as a coolant, circulating through dedicated oil radiators to help manage temperatures under hard driving. Critics in the 1960s dismissed the idea as outdated and dangerous. They argued that rear-engine cars were unstable and prone to sudden oversteer, and that air-cooled designs couldn't handle the heat generated by performance driving. Some predicted that the new Porsche 911 would be a commercial flop or even a liability on the road. But Porsche already proven the durability of their designs in the harsh world of motorsport, endurance racing, rallying, and mountain climbs. All brutal environments where air-cooled engines thrived. Their secret weapon was experience and relentless refinement. By trusting their engineering instincts and refusing to follow the herd, Porsche turned what many thought was a mistake into one of the most enduring and beloved engines in automotive history.
One of the secrets behind the 911's ability to handle extreme driving was its dry sump lubrication system, a technology borrowed straight from racing. This setup ensured that oil pressure remained consistent even when the car was thrown around at high speeds or subjected to intense cornering forces. It was a motorsport solution adapted for the road, a key factor that allowed the early 911 to overcome its controversial debut and begin building its reputation. The air-cooled flat six didn't just survive, it evolved dramatically over more than 3 decades. Starting with a modest yet capable 2-liter engine producing 130 horsepower, Porsche kept pushing the design forward. By 1973, displacement had grown to 2.7 liters, then to 3 liters in 1975, with steady gains in torque and power along the way. By the end of the 1990s, in the legendary 993 generation, the engine had reached 3.8 liters and over 400 horsepower in some models, all while staying true to its air-cooled roots. A major turning point came in 1974 with the arrival of the turbocharger. Fitting a turbo to an already hot-running air-cooled engine was a bold move, but the result was the ferocious 930 turbo. Producing 260 horsepower, it could rocket from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 5.4 seconds, supercar performance for a fraction of the price of a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. However, it was a demanding machine. The infamous turbo lag would lull you into a false sense of calm before delivering a sudden, brutal wave of power that could unsettle the car instantly, especially with all that weight over the rear wheels. It quickly earned the nickname Widowmaker. And it wasn't just a legend. This was a car that required skill, respect, and steady nerves to master. Over the years, Porsche refined the turbo concept, improving oil cooling, strengthening components, and smoothing power delivery while keeping the raw mechanical soul that enthusiasts loved. Under its sleek bodywork, the Porsche Flat Six was far more sophisticated than it appeared. Each cylinder had its own separate head instead of a single shared casting, which allowed for precisely designed cooling fins to control heat more effectively, critical for an air-cooled performance engine. Lightweight materials such as aluminum were used extensively, helping reduce overall mass while also allowing heat to dissipate quickly. The compact integration of the engine and transmission created a rigid structure capable of withstanding the punishment of both road and track. Remarkably, the basic architecture Hans Metzger developed in the 1960s proved so advanced that Porsche used it for decades in its most extreme models, even after switching to water cooling in production 911s. Icons like the 996 GT3, 997 GT2, and 997 Turbo still relied on this legendary foundation. The final chapter of the air-cooled 911 came with the 993 generation, built from 1993 to 1998. By then, the engine was the result of decades of refinement, combining cutting-edge electronics, optimized cooling, and all of Porsche's accumulated expertise. The 3.6-liter naturally aspirated version delivered 285 horsepower, but the 993 Turbo was in a league of its own, producing 408 horsepower without a drop of coolant. Even with such power, it maintained the visceral mechanical character that defined the 911. Porsche had reworked every detail: combustion chambers, materials, oil systems, creating the most advanced air-cooled 911 ever. But times were changing. Stricter emissions regulations, increasing demands for comfort and refinement, and the pursuit of even higher performance meant that air cooling had reached its limits. In 1997, Porsche made the historic decision to move to water cooling with the 996 generation. It was the end of an era, a bold technical gamble that had lasted more than 30 years. Today, these air-cooled 911s are considered rolling pieces of art. Models like a well-preserved 930 Turbo can fetch over 200,000 euros, while rare 993 Turbo S examples often exceed 400,000 euros. Collectors prize them not just for their rarity, but for the philosophy they represent: a refusal to follow trends, a relentless pursuit of mechanical purity, and a dedication to engineering excellence. These cars embody a time when Porsche built machines to be driven hard, to last, and to connect the driver to the road in the most direct way possible. Owning an air-cooled 911 today isn't simply about having a sports car. It's about preserving a living piece of history. It's about experiencing an era when innovation meant defying convention, when engines were built to be both beautiful and brutal, and when a mechanical heartbeat could become a cultural icon. Even now, the spirit of that Flat Six influences Porsche's modern designs, reminding the automotive world of what can be achieved when passion and engineering meet without compromise.